Good afternoon, cooperators, candidates, and friends, committee members and friends. My name is Francine Reaver-Jones, and I am the chairperson for the Riverbay 2022 Election Committee. Welcome to the second of 3 forums. They will all be virtual due to the uptick in COVID-19 and the variants. This forum and all the others will be rebroadcast for your convenience in helping you make your voting choices. My apologies are extended to the candidates for the last minute decision making, and we are not living in normal times, so some changes had to be made at the last minute. I thank you all for your understanding. The cooperators were invited to email their questions to riverbaytwenty22@riverbaycorp.com. You may still email your questions to this address to use for the next and last forum, which will be Wednesday, May 4th. Without further ado, I will introduce the election committee, and those members are Denise Gerald.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Sandy Krasnov.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Marita Taylor. John Gale. Dorian King.
Good afternoon.
Yvonne Allen and Jarasia Wilson. The election committee attorney is Jeffrey Buss of Smith, Buss and Jacobs, LLP.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeff Buss. Hi.
And now we will go on to reading or giving you the rules of the forum.
Francine, would you like me to read those rules for every candidate? Okay.
Yes.
So once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The candidates will be permitted up to 2 minutes to make an opening statement, and they will have 1 minute for a closing statement. Candidates obviously can make shorter statements if they would like. Once again, candidates are requested to refrain from personally attacking each other or making defamatory statements. And everyone in the last session was extraordinarily professional and dealt with the issues. I really thought that was fantastic. We also request that candidates don't show or make facial gestures while somebody else is speaking. It can be interpreted as being disrespectful. The committee reserves the right to mute a candidate in the event that we believe they're violating the rule. And the same thing is true for the recording of this broadcast. It is being recorded and broadcast on our co-opcity TV station. But if something is stated that in the committee's opinion is defamatory, because the corporation itself is broadcasting it, we're going to have to edit and take that section out. Let's see, what else have we got in the way of a rule? There's going to be a series of questions. As Francine indicated, we've gotten questions from various shareholders. The committee is going to be reading some of those questions to the candidates. Candidates will be given, I believe we said 1.5 minutes each to respond to a question, or less if they want. Questions can be referred to all candidates or even to a group of candidates or individual candidates. We're going to stop taking questions at about 5 o'clock today. And at that time, we're going to allow candidates to make their closing statement. Francine, back to you. You're muted.
Okay, thank you. And as the candidates know, they will be given a signal on their opening statement when they have 30 seconds left to speak. And for the closing statement, for the closing statement, they have 1 minute and will be given 15 seconds signal when, of the time that's left to speak. And they have 1.5 minutes for answering questions, and we'll get a signal of 15 seconds that are left to speak. Your cooperation is appreciated, and I know you will cooperate. Okay, so I guess now we'll have the opening statement. And, Raymond Tirado will not be with us this afternoon. A pet died and he will not be with us. He will be with us on Wednesday. And, let's see, Aisha Hernandez Ahmed will not be with us. And, Ivy Gaynor is not here. So, and we got a message that she will not be with us today. Okay, so opening statements, we'll start with Lynette Wright. We have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, Co-op City. Thank you for tuning into today's forum or whatever day you're watching this. Thank you for taking the time to be an informed cooperator and believing that the board selection can make a difference. I was reading in the Co-op City Times last night and read an editorial by cooperator Novella Thomas. She expresses to us cooperators that we can be agents of change in this community by speaking to the board of directors, contacting our elected officials, and attending board meetings, and that these things are a requirement to sustaining a viable community. She goes on to say that the involvement in our churches, social organizations, and board associations is essential and a benefit to our strength in this corporation. I completely agree with Novella. However, I also feel that it's the board's responsibility to support this type of environment. We speak about how many of our neighbors don't vote or don't engage or don't invest time in the community. My question would be, who has historically set this tone? Communities become disillusioned when its leadership fails to make them feel like an inclusive part of society and doesn't emphasize the role that every single person plays in our society. We have people on this board that believe and understand this, but I want to be that catalyst of change. I spoke to a few people earlier today about the election this year, and when I told them that I was running, many said, good, we need some new faces here. Co-op City, I'm asking you for the opportunity to not only be a new face, but also bring some others with me, as well as one that is familiar, consistent, and filled with integrity. Vote for me, Lynette Wright, Blossom Johns, Jacqueline Smith, and to re-elect Rod Saunders to the Riverbay Board of Directors. We are stronger together. I look forward to answering today's questions and speaking with you in the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lynette Wright. Now we have Blossom John.
Welcome. My name is Blossom Johns, a long-time resident of Building 10C, and I'm humbly asking for your vote to join the esteemed Riverbay Board of Directors. As a board of director, I will be your eyes, your ears, and your voice when it comes to maintaining affordability and a good quality of life to our home. What can I bring to the table besides professionalism? My years of experience working directly for past city and state leaders, and my knack for fact-checking and being a detail-oriented person. I have a BA in world history, and as history majors can find themselves in any professional field, the one thing we master is not coming to a conclusion without facts. As a board member, I will make sure to know the facts and to present the facts to you before making any major decisions. As a board member, I encourage more CCPD coordination with the 45th Precinct to help with the visibility and the deployment of CCPD, allowing them the ease in patrolling in the buildings and around the grounds, enforcing the community rules and regulations, as well as protecting our residents. I will support the continued improvement of the call center by creating a sophisticated system where the residents have the ability to schedule some of their own maintenance repairs, hence easing call wait times and allowing staff to be more focused and attentive to the work at hand. I will support assessing and streamlining the repairs process in its totality. Again, I'm asking you for your vote for myself, Blossom Johns, and my team, Rod Saunders, Jacqueline Smith, and Lynette Wright. We are stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you, Blossom John. Next up, we have Mary Pearson.
Hello, neighbors. Hello, Section 5. Did you get a chance to read the candidates' statements and see the ads? If you look specifically at my ad, you'll see why I love Co-op City. The backdrop of the ad, that's my view. I've seen a little bit of that view from every room in my apartment for the last 27 years. Now, from the time I was surprisingly voted onto the board in 2018, I've done everything I possibly can to make the lives of my neighbors in our beloved community a little better, and sometimes a whole lot better. I couldn't possibly tell you in 2 minutes what I've done and how I've done it. That's why in my next statement, I'll point you to a website and a Facebook page so you can see all about it. But in the meantime, you can read all about it at issue.com/cctimes. There you'll find literally hundreds of viewpoints I've written through the years, and several letters to the editor in the years before that. That's issue without the E, ISSUU.com/CC Co-op City Times, CC Times. Now, if you haven't checked my statement and ad, I'll read you a little bit of what I wrote. I'm a professional musician, political activist, ... often seen with a poster and a purple balloon. That refers to the year I spent last year handing out every Saturday from community center to community center mask frames, put under your mask so we could all breathe a little easier. This one was for the adults, and I bought a whole bunch of little ones for the little ones. Okay. So I'll continue reading. What will Mary Pearson, what will Mary Pearson continue to do for us? She'll work to get us what we need, what we deserve, and what we have been promised. Why should you vote to re-elect Mary Pearson? Because she's not yet finished crusading for us. Yet.
Thank you, Mary Pearson. Next up, we have Ezekiel Springer Jr. You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you, cooperators. And let me just tell you, I've lived in Section 5 since 2005. My family members have been here since the mid-90s. So let me ask you, do you like living in Co-op City? Because I do. I love my apartment views. I love the cleanliness of the buildings. I love riding the bike paths and walking Section 5's Greenway. And I just love the sense of community with my neighbors. So to preserve that, that's why I'm running in the 2022 Riverbay Board of Elections. As a professional editor, I've learned how to organize and communicate. So for the past 4 years, I've served as the secretary for the Building 32 Association. There, I've informed cooperators about events, scheduled guest speakers, including speakers like politician Congressman Jamal Bowman. And through it all, I've learned hundreds of like-minded residents are just like me. They want to be heard and they want to have someone act on their concerns. So with your voice, I can serve as that voice for Co-op City. I need your vote for that. So my platform is simple. They're your top concerns: safety for our community, maintaining affordability, reaching a high standard of service, maintaining our good quality of life, fostering a spirit of Co-op City. So please vote for my team, Michelle Marbury, Monique Coleman, and me, and Ivy Gaynor, and Aisha Hernandez Ahmed. We are the spirit of Co-op City. I'm sorry, but it makes me passionate to be a part of this team. And I hope that you will give us your vote and see that we are the spirit of Co-op City. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezekiel Springer Jr. Next up, we have Rod Saunders.
Once again, to the members of the committee and to our fellow shareholders tuned in, fellow candidates, good afternoon. In my last opening statement, I spoke about my diverse community involvement, including my role since first being elected to the Riverbay Board 2015 and re-elected in 2018. Today, I want to talk more about why I'm seeking re-election to the Riverbay Board of Directors. Going forward, I want to work together with the Stronger Together team. We want to address the concerns that we've heard over and over from shareholders, whether at the board meetings or whether talking to them in person and engaging them in conversations in the street. I want to address cooperative concerns about the water overflow from our convectors, about the maintenance and repair protocols, about the call center waiting times, and working with our elected representatives to comply with their climate control legislative mandates while keeping Co-op City affordable and paying for these essential capital projects. In order to do that, I believe that our team is best qualified to be proactive and not reactive in addressing cooperative concerns. Therefore, from May 2nd to May 20th, you have an opportunity to vote for our team. Ballots are in the mail and they're coming now. I respectfully ask you to vote for Blossom Johns, Lynette Wright, Jacqueline Smith, and to re-elect myself, Rod Saunders. I want to thank you all again for attending today's forum. Thank you, be safe, and stay well.
Thank you, Rod Saunders. Next up, we have Monique Coleman.
Hello, shareholders. Thank you to the election committee, and thank you to all of the shareholders for this opportunity. I did introduce myself on our very first forum to explain I've been here for 30 years and I've been a full board member for the last 6 months, and I'm completing Cheryl Jenkins's term, which expires at the end of May, and my goal is to become a full board member for the next 3 years. During my first 6 months, I chaired the insurance committee. I've saved the corporation at least $800,000 along with my committee on insurance policies that were that would have cost us more had our committee not existed. I'm most concerned with maintaining affordability in order to fight for our autonomy. Co-op City is an unusual place in that we are entirely independent and self-sufficient, and we have what they're not making a lot more of, which is real estate. And our property is valuable, and other people see it that way too. I want to fight for affordability so that we can maintain our self-sufficiency and our independence and our autonomy, so that we have a legacy to leave to our heirs who can enjoy it the way that we have. Please vote for me, Monique Coleman, re-elect Michelle Marbury, and the rest of the spirit of Co-op City, Aisha Ahmed, Ivy Gaynor, and Ezekiel Springer. We are the spirit of Co-op City.
Thank you, Monique Coleman. Next up, we have Jacqueline Smith.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank the election committee for hosting the second forum, and I want to say hello to all my fellow candidates. My name is Jacqueline Smith, and I'm running for a seat on the Riverbay Board. Why am I running? I moved into Co-op City in 1971. I was a little kid, but I watched my mother for 2 years prior to that have to follow all the rules to come into Co-op City. You know, my mother had to save $2,000 for a union moving truck just to come in here. But she was so excited. She moved here because she felt like she was moving into a community and that it was going to be part of an ownership. So when the rent strike happened and the cooperatives and the shareholders felt that they weren't being represented or treated fairly, my mother jumped right in. She was so happy to hear from Birmingham, Alabama, where she's retired now, that I'm taking up her legacy. I'm running for the board because I love Co-op City. Co-op City is in my heart, and it always will be. I'm running with the Stronger Together team. Mr. Saunders has already mentioned the 6 bullet points that if you read the Co-op City Times today, you see what we stand for. But myself, if I'm elected to the board, I really want to work on bringing back the biannual new shareholder orientation that we used to have every year in the Dryser Community Center to give them an understanding that they now belong to something, and also give them the right to know that they have every right to express to the board what it is that they want the board to work on. Like Ms. Wright, like Ms. Blossom and Mr. Saunders, we've been out in the community in the last couple of weeks talking to the shareholders. And I'm so happy to report to you that it makes me feel good that all the things that this Stronger Together team stands for seems to be what the cooperatives want. So again, thank you for the invite today.
Thank you, Jacqueline Smith. And last but not least, we have Michelle Marbury.
Thank you. And greetings, shareholders, election committee, and my fellow candidates. You have elevated me to Riverbay's second vice president and board director. Now vote me back into the boardroom, and we will do revolutionary things. Together with board director Monique Coleman, expert insurance professional, and chaplain Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, a stellar political strategist, coalition member Ivy Gaynor, and Ezekiel Springer Jr., Building 32's association secretary. We are the spirit of Co-op City. Somos el espíritu de Co-op City. Now we're going to take that spirit into the boardroom. We've already got our plan to eliminate your cable bill and introduce internet services that will bring those bills down to a fraction of what you're paying now, and a plan to fully digitize all of our information. As your board director, I know that we must find smarter ways to get things done. For example, our convectors. That's why they're being studied by engineers. So we can go back to the federal government and say, hey, this is a green energy project, and get funds from the feds that are earmarked for green energy. We have to be creative. We have to troubleshoot. We have to figure out alternatives to accomplish our goals. Why? Because we are the spirit of Co-op City, the offspring of the Coalition to Save Affordable Housing. And we do this for you and for me. So vote Michelle Marbury, Monique Coleman back into the boardroom, and elect Chaplain Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, Ivy Gaynor, and Ezekiel Springer Jr. Somos el espíritu de Co-op City. We are the spirit of Co-op City. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a great opening statement. And now we'll move on to our questions. Jeff, do you have any questions from the cooperators? If so, I'll read this first one and get a response, and then maybe you can ask one of the cooperators questions. Okay, question number 1. Are you an active member of your building association? If so, what has your building association done to improve your building or the community? Okay, we'll go with Lynette Wright first.
Thank you for the question. So I will say and admit, I am not an active member of my association. I had a building association previously when we were running meetings in person back in before obviously 2020. Part of the problem with that was that I was working 2 jobs, and the association met during the times when I wanted to be active in meetings. Could we do it now? We potentially could, but my building association is no longer functioning. What could assist with this is how we use technology. We have Zoom, we have WebEx, how we are doing this now, and we have other means of being able to communicate. I also feel should also be able to access the minutes from these meetings online and have that accessible. So for people who do want to be able to do that, but I don't think that we're there yet, unfortunately. But I would like to be a part of that change to be able to make these meetings, particularly for the Building Association, more accessible to more people. And that involves thinking.
Okay, well, raise your hand if you want to answer this question, because everybody might not want to answer it. Okay, Ezekiel, I saw your hand first. Ezekiel.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. As you all know, I'm the secretary of my building association. That's Building Association 32. I want to give big ups to our association president, Leon Hall, Leon Hall has been a great steward of the association, and I learned at the knee of Leon Hall. And as I said in my opening, I've worked on lobby holiday decorations, which is fun. We give treats to the kids for Halloween, Co-op City Fun Day. That's great taking a part in that, being a part of basketball games, being a part of the hot dogs and vendoring that takes place there. And we bring in guests. We bring in guests, and like Jamal Bowman, like I said. And also, I really appreciated that we had raffles where we raffled off Kidda fire extinguishers. And our cooperators in my building were very thankful for that in getting those fire extinguishers for themselves, which was really cool.
Thank you. Rod Saunders, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll be very honest with you. I have not attended as many building association meetings as they've had meetings. I can tell you that I don't recall seeing a notice for a building association meeting recently. But I do want to circle back to the fact that I opened about our convectors. I want to make a comment about that, and that is this. You know, convector flooding is about water not being able to properly drain. It backs up and it comes in. And yes, it's true. We have hired consultants to look and to figure out what we can do with our convectors going forward. But right now, flooding by convectors is being caused by objects, microbial objects, and we need to start to clear those things before we have the conversion from heating to air conditioning. I believe that if we cleared the microbial clogs that are existing in our convectors now, going forward, we would stop a lot of the flooding that's been happening in our apartments, saving us millions of dollars and our shareholders heartaches. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. I see the hand of Moen Coleman.
Hi, so I'm a member of my building association, but unfortunately I don't get to attend as many meetings as I would like. I work full time. I'm a member of the board. I'm a member of 2 committees. All of our board meetings and committee work happen in the evenings, about the same time that, our building association meetings occur. And so when I'm available, I do attend, and I give a shout out to Deb Henry, who's, our association president. So they do great things. They do give out candy to the children. We have a scholarship fund in our section and in our building. We all contribute. I'm a contributing member. I'm up to date with my dues. So yes, I'm active when I can be.
Okay, thank you. Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to answer that question. I belong to the Adler Townhouse Association when it was in existence. Like Lynette said, we haven't had it, or they haven't scheduled it since COVID, but we did a lot of good work. First and foremost, we addressed the security around townhouse areas, not only ours. We have staircases leading to the basements underneath the townhouse that were very poorly lit. And unfortunately, in the Atlas side, we had a serious situation there with a shareholder a couple of years ago. So we're still constantly working, not on the behalf of my townhouse area, but other townhouse areas. That's why if I'm honored to be sent to the board, most townhouse shareholders, like the Atlas Townhouse shareholders, would like call boxes inside the clusters, especially the seniors. Because remember, we have to come outside to recycle. We have to come outside to throw away our garbage. So I think that they deserve an extra layer of security. The other thing that I know that our association is probably very proud of, they were able to be instrumental in discussing the cleaning of the garages. The 2 garages next to the Bartow Shopping Center get a lot of traffic, not only from shareholders, from people who park there there transiently to use either the community center a couple of years ago for parties or for whatever reason. And they were instrumental at our association meeting, asking management to come and come up with a steady schedule of cleaning. And I know we're very proud of that. But again, that shows me that when shareholders are allowed to interact with management through active board members, anything can be accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next up, Michelle Marbury.
Okay, thank you. The building association is and should be the core of our community's infrastructure. I mentioned this in every committee that I chair. I mentioned it in my viewpoint. And wherever I go in meetings and clubs, I talk about our building associations. I think it is so important for us to start there to make this community more succinct, more stable, and to garner the involvement that we need from all of our shareholders. From our building association, and we have ongoing meetings, even through COVID, we do them on Zoom, and to garner and to be a magnet for the shareholders and give them a place to go and receive information. We have monthly building association meetings. In our building association, Building 21, we started the Section 4 partnership. We used to have a think tank on Friday evenings. Out of the Section 4 partnership, we did the first ice cream social which everybody loved. We helped Building 20 with their election, and we always invite all of the other buildings to be a part of our association to help the community to galvanize. So this is so important and one of my biggest issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle Marbury. Now we have Mary Pearson.
Okay. We have a very, very active building association. We have a $500 scholarship college fund every year. Unfortunately, a couple of years, no one stepped up to get it. We participate in the Section 5 Fund Day, and one year with my friend Alethea from another building, who was the Section 5 secretary, I was the one up to my elbow in pink because I was doing the cotton candy. Let's see, we have Thalia Roach as our president, and Nelson Sweeting, who is pretty much Bernie Silich's right-hand man at this point, fighting the ramp. He's our assistant secretary, assistant president, vice president, I believe. He used to be president. Hattie Overman writes our letters for the building every week. And Lillian Sumter, I can't tell you what her birthday is, but she is still collecting the money and counting it up right. She's my hero at age umpteenth. What else have we done? Let's see. The past 2 years, there hasn't been anything for the past 2 years, right? That we haven't had any meetings, but we still collected money. We were asked to individually help out our porters and other people. I got 10 seconds left. So that's it. Decorate, hand out candy, stuff like that. Great association. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if you have spoken, you can remove your hand, put your hand down. And okay, the next question is, seniors make up a large percentage of our community. Do you think the needs of our seniors are being adequately met? And if not, what would you propose? Okay, raise your hand if you want to respond. Okay, Monique Coleman.
So I feel like we certainly have some community organizations that are doing some amazing things. JASA is really engaged in our community and providing a number of services. But I think we could do better. And, you know, the spirit of Co-op City is our platform is based on fighting to get our fair share. We pay an enormous amount of taxes. for services that we do not get to benefit from. You know, we pay taxes, we don't get sanitation, we don't get policing. So we think that, you know, public funds could be used to help support some of our private pet projects. A lot of people say that's impossible, but we all just watched Governor Hochul give $850 million to an individual family to build a new stadium for the Buffalo Bills, and that is a private project. So there's public money out there for private projects. We've been asking for money for a youth center, a mere $8 million to rehab our bingo hall for a youth and senior center. I think that, you know, we should fight for that money, get our fair share, and open a senior center at the bingo hall and a youth center combined.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Next we'll have Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you for the question. Yes, I think we are doing, you know, a lot for the seniors, because I would never say that the current board members do not care for the senior citizens. But like Lynette Wright said earlier, sometimes new blood brings new ideas. Back to that bingo hall. Yes, this should have occurred. I think that how we could approach it, though, is that maybe we should write grants. I was doing research a couple of years ago. There's a lot of grants out there for this type of community work. That's what I do for a living. I'm a social worker, I'm a community organizer, and I have written grants. This is a natural recurring retirement community. The bingo hall should have a computer lab. Like Miss Wright and Mr. Saunders and Miss Blossom have been talking to the community about, the senior citizens are just as interested in the technology as a millennial. All they're asking for is to listen to what kind of technology they would like. And then if we had the museum, cultural center, community lab, places for different 16 to 21-year-old programs, which is sorely needed in the community, because if we want them to act better, we have to give them something to do. We could also help the seniors along with other community people, and I think it would be a win-win-win. All we need is like-minded, 21st century, visionary type Riverbay board directors that are ready to put their back into it, listen to their shareholders, do the work, and we'll come up with the state-of-art community place that everybody will be happy with. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Ezekiel Springer.
Thank you for the question. As my teammate Monique Coleman brought up about the community center and the bingo hall, I totally agree that that should be something we can work on to give a place for the seniors, but not only the seniors, but give a place for our youth. So youth and seniors can positively interact with each other. There are 8,000 people in Co-op City under the age of 19 years old. They need a place to go. The seniors, I think we're doing a pretty good job for the seniors in activities and things to do. But of course, we can do more. We can do so much more. And that bingo hall, transitioning that bingo hall into a community center would be great. We need about $8 million to do that. And if we can get grant money and other money from the state and federal, that would be awesome. Because you gave money to the Buffalo Bills, which is a private organization, and Edenwald got a YMCA with state money. If Edenwald can get a YMCA with state money, why can't we transition our bingo hall with state money? We can do that. We can do that. It's doable. And when I'm on the board, I'm going to fight for making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezekiel. Mary Pearson.
Hello, okay. Seniors, we are a NORC, but we're not a typical NORC. A NORC is usually described by numbers. We're described by numbers. It's typically described by percentages. You have to have more than 50% with some resident over the age of 50. But we're so big, they redefined the definition of a natural occurring retirement community to include us because we are like 25% seniors in the community compared to the rest of the Bronx is edging onto 20%. So it's not that much more greater percent. It's just that we have so many people. Okay, so we do a lot for them. We get, I'd like to say, we have to do for everybody. We are a cooperative, and sometimes we only want to fight for our own this or that, our own bus stop, our own bus route, and forget everybody else. And Section 5, unfortunately, gets forgotten a lot in this process. JASA, fabulous. They do a lot of stuff. They offer many, many programs. It's fabulous. But what I like to say, teens don't eat JASA meals. Seniors don't use the slip and slide, and tots don't shoot hoops. We all have to do for each other what we all want our quality of life to be. Now, in the memorandum of understanding, when there was the Animal House fight, I don't want to go into that, but there was 1,000 square feet on the ground floor to be given for a purpose of our own choosing. That I wanted to be a computer center, all different staggering hours, the youth, the middle-aged, and the elderly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Pearson. Okay, let's go to Rod Saunders.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, I believe that we have wonderful programs here for seniors. I believe that JASA, I believe that the line dancers, I believe that the retirees all provide programs for our seniors that are great. What I'm more concerned about, though, is that not all retirees are equal. There are a lot of our seniors who don't have the benefits that some of the younger seniors have. Their retirement packages weren't as good, and therefore, when we do things, whether it's in the budget or contracts that have a tendency to raise the carrying charges, it puts some seniors who make enough to get to be comfortable, but not enough to be comfortable when increases in carrying charges are there. So I'm very concerned about it. Also, I want to make a comment about the Bingo Hall Center. In 2018, after my reelection to the board, there was a resolution to rent out the Bingo Hall to a private entity. I was against that. We had an opportunity to take over the Bingo Hall and start to get monies and grants towards making it a community center in 2018. Maybe with the election of my team to the Riverbay Board of Directors, we will reintroduce it, have a resolution, and start to get with whatever funding we can and turn that Bingo Hall into a great community center. Thank you.
Okay, Michelle Marbury.
Thank you. Our seniors, which I hesitate to say have become one. Now being a part of the retirees, I can't believe I have a card for the retirees. Okay, but we take great care of our seniors, the JASA, the retirees, and my organization that I'm president of, the African American Association, sponsors the line dancers who take good care of our seniors, and also Keith Witherspoon, who has our salsa dance project, and there's so many activities for them to be involved in. But our youth need to be meshed in with that, and the youth center will do that. As my teammates so brilliantly brought up, the youth center, $8 million. I mean, this is chump change. We need to get this. We were promised this, and our team is going to go after it, and we're going to acquire it. I sat down with Bernie Stylish. I had a meeting with Kevin Riley. It's on his docket. It shall be done. When I was younger, when I was coming up, whenever we had a party or something in our home, but it was always the seniors, and it was all the generations, the youth and the seniors. We party together. So this is something that I've been brought up on. It's in my DNA, and I'm going to see it happen for our community.
Thank you, Michelle Marbury. Okay, so we'll go to Lynette Wright.
Thank you. So as has been said, I think that we do have a fairly deep amount of services that are available for our seniors. But to Rod Saunders' point, it's depending on how you define that, because that is a very large range. Luckily, because we are a naturally occurring retirement community, we have people that have opportunities to be able to socialize and to be able to speak, and that social environment leads to longevity. But we can't say that the needs of someone that is 65, for instance, which is categorically a senior, has the exact same needs of that of someone who is 90. Those are two different populations, and both of those populations need to be served. So we can't make very broad generalizations for the fact what the needs of those people are. I personally feel that we do need to have more information. We need to have conversation around what those needs are to be able to adequately answer that question of if those needs are being served or not. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And I think the last one is Blossom John.
Can I have the question again, please? I didn't hear it. I lost feed.
Okay, seniors make up a large percentage of our community. Do you think the needs of our seniors are being adequately met? And if not, what would you propose?
I'm going to answer both the last question and this question. I'm very involved in my building association. Prior to COVID, they stood on my neck as far as what they wanted with their bus services. During COVID, we did our best. My building president and vice president currently keep the building abreast through the CC times. As far as what I would do for the seniors, I believe that, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I believe that the programs that we have right now are exceptional. Could there be more? Yes. There are also groups here, underserved groups here that have no programs, such as LGBTQIA. I would like to see something inserted for them as well. I missed the question. I lost my train of thought, but I'll come back to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Okay, I have a question here. Okay, cooperators complain about apartments being sublet. It is illegal for shareholders to sublet their apartments. Also, other shareholders are being cheated by people that circumvent the process of paying their equity like the rest of us did. What would you suggest to stop the practice of subletting?
I'm sorry, can I just jump in here, Ms. Director Jones? Could you please read that question again because you were breaking up?
I was breaking up? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Can I also ask just that everyone, if you are not speaking, to mute, because that's where that feedback is coming from.
And everyone who has spoken, well, answered the last question, you can put your hand down now. Okay, here's the question. Cooperators complain about apartments being sublet. It is illegal for shareholders to sublet their apartments. Also, other shareholders are being cheated by people that circumvent the process of paying the equity that the rest of us did. What would you suggest to stop the practice of subletting? You could raise your hand if you want to answer. You don't have to answer all of the questions. Okay, Rod, I saw you first.
Thank you for the question. When I was first elected to the board in 2015, by 2016, I had proposed a resolution that we go back to the original move-in, move-out standards, which meant that in order to move in, you need to have a licensed professional mover move your things into Co-op City. And I believe that's important because what we would do is we would have a strategy of you could not move into your apartment until you came with the mover. On the day you came with the mover, you would get a key to move into your apartment and couldn't do so otherwise. That would give public safety a wider hand at seeing when U-Haul trucks back into onto our streets and unload into our buildings, it would give them the opportunity to challenge that immediately. That resolution was defeated. It was unfortunate because I believe that that was one measure to stop apartments being occupied illegally. And I believe that it's something that we need to revisit. I think that public safety, by the way, can do a little bit better job at challenging U-Haul vans when they see them, especially late at night, coming or on the weekends, moving furniture and other large items into our apartments, into our buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, Michelle Marbury.
Okay. We have programs, excuse me, we have programs in place that will curtail illegal subletting. We have hires, we have an investigation company to weed out subletters, and we have increased the number of evictions due to subletting. So we have that. You know, but people can sneak in during the middle of the night. But we also have the whistleblower program, and we need to, you know, shareholders, we have to use the programs that we've put in place to make this place work, you know, and to keep our place working. That's why we instituted these programs. And this is another thing that I think should be introduced into our orientation program. You know, that there's something, if you see something, we have a program to shelter you, and which so you can go and be open and vocal and involved and stop people from infringing on your privacy and on your freedom and, you know, on your legality to not be cheated out of what you pay for every month. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Monique Coleman.
So I feel like it's a complex issue because, you know, I'm sure that some of the subletters are probably some of our best neighbors because they're very quiet. They tiptoe around. They don't, you know, want to make a fuss. They don't want to be seen. They want to be invisible. So they probably are super cooperative. But at the same time, you're right. They're cheating our organization and our community out of thousands and thousands of dollars. And frankly, you know, having an initiative to keep our community affordable, everyone needs to pay their share, their fair share. You know, I echo Michelle's sentiments, which include that, you know, we do have programs right now. I mentioned that I was on the insurance committee, but I'm not sure that I've mentioned that I'm on the audit committee as well, which monitors the condition of the corporation. And one of our programs is the whistleblower program. And that, you know, there is a anonymous tip line that shareholders can use to offer information if they feel like there's something, if they see something, they can say something, and they can do it anonymously without having to, you know, come face to face. So there are programs where we can all participate in this process.
Okay, thank you, Monique Coleman. Mary Pearson.
Yes, indeed, it is an incredibly complex issue. Okay, I have a little, Ron tells us the history, how it used to be done. Michelle's telling us about the whistleblower, which is great, but you'd have to follow somebody up to see what apartment they're coming out of or into. And a lot of people don't want to be that put on the front line, shall we say, to find that information out. Now, just a couple of Saturdays ago, there was a U-Haul Saturday. You're not allowed to move in or out. So I was sitting, waiting, you know, to go somewhere, and I called CCPD and I said, could you come by and find out if these people are, yeah, I know they're not allowed to be here because we don't have people move in on Saturdays. And the woman, the officer said, thank you, ma'am, and hung up on me. So I called back and I said, excuse me, you know, this was not, you know, just an idle little thing. I want you to check this out. And she hung up on me again. So I said, I want to get the message of Chief Riley. I want his message, because this is, what are you doing? You're hanging up? I'm not hanging, whatever. So we got into it, and I said, look, I want to stop them before they move in. I don't want to take a roof off of somebody's head once they're already in. But if you can catch them before they move in, then you find out who's really doing the bad acting. And that is the shareholder who is trying to make a profit off of our beautiful cooperative. And, sometimes it's a family member that didn't do the right information, stuff like that. But by the end of the conversation, we were both in accord that these things have to be addressed, and amnesty, I think, is the way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Others can lower your hand if you've already spoken. Thank you.
Oh, are you speaking to me?
No.
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the question. Personally and professionally, I think this is a very, very, very serious problem. I've been here since 1971. I concur with my fellow candidates. A lot of the reasons in the last 50 years that this has been occurring is because we have stopped doing the things we used to do before. Not only did you have to come in here with a moving truck, but you were given a permit. You had to have a piece of paper, and that piece of paper were put in the lobby so the tenants that were using only one elevator, because I was moving into building 35 using the other elevator, could see I had a legal permit. We need to bring that back. In the last forum, my candidate spoke about some serious mandates that are coming down the pipeline. I spoke to you about the conditions of the front of Co-op City's townhouses. The majority of them, I can tell you mine, is going to have to come down and be rebuilt. So we need that stream of revenue. Also, as I told you, we've been walking around speaking to the cooperatives, the shareholders, and they've told us that some of this stuff is going on online. That's why our team is definitely committed to new technology in the 21st century. And that's one of the committees that I know a few of my fellow candidates would like to be part of and have the skill set to take us where we need to go. But that's a problem. Shareholders, I'm speaking to you. I'm humbly asking you to send my team to the board, because they're willing to address that situation and help the situation. Thank you.
Okay, Ezekiel Springer.
I want to bring back the focus on subletting, because we got a little distracted there about the townhouses. People who are worried about subletting, they're not worried about townhouses. They're worried about subletters cheating. We need the help of shareholders, all of the shareholders, to get rid of subletters. Management and CPD can't do it alone. They can't do it alone. Yes, there are programs in place to fight against this. And please, my fellow shareholders, grab that opportunity to use those programs. But management and CCPD can't do it alone. We are part of this. We are shareholders. When subletters cheat, they're not cheating Riverbay. They're cheating us, the shareholders. Remember that. And vote for me, vote for my team. We will make sure that that program is fully entrenched and that our fellow shareholders have an opportunity to use that program to keep out subletters. Thank you.
Thank you. Blossom John.
I agree with the candidates, especially Jacqueline Smith. When I moved into the building, it was a coordinated effort. When I walked in, I knew no one, and the building president and tenants greeted me at the elevator and told me, "You're the person moving in on the 19th floor." It needs to be coordinated between the sales department, management, CCPD, and the building associations. The van had a permit in the truck. I had between 10 and 4, if I remember, to move in. I used one elevator, the rest of the tenants used the other. That's when we need to start recognizing know the protocol, reiterate it in CC Times, put it back up on the website, which is again why I was saying we need to be more proactive and have more modern communication here so people are more aware. Over the years, the ball has dropped plenty of times. No blame. We're all in this together. Cooperators, search it out, seek it out. If you feel that that's going on, there's a whistleblower call number there, and you can call and make it happen. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving right along to the next question. And, okay, you can lower your hands if you've already spoken. Lynette?
I did not speak, but I would like to.
Okay, go ahead.
So I do agree that, first of all, the program is there technically that you should be picking up your form, and you're supposed to leave it out when you move into the building, particularly if you're in one that has an elevator. That's a given. The issue, though, is the enforcement of that. That is there, that there's all of these things that you are supposed to do, certain times that you are supposed to be moving, and the coordination is there. As Jacqueline had said, part of it. However, as Blossom stated, it's not strictly enforced. It's not necessarily there that you're supposed to take a specific elevator, because I know when I moved in, there wasn't a stoppage or anything. I went and I moved in and no one questioned me about it. There was no support from CCPD. There was no question of the paper that I had. So it's one thing, I think, to have the rule there. It's another thing to be able to have strict enforcement and be able to use that so that we can reduce the amount of subletting that happens. And similarly, have people be able to report it. If you see people moving in the middle of the night, it needs to be reported so that we can be able to continue to keep this community safe, and to be able to keep it with shareholders specifically and not renters.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good responses. Okay, the next question up is Co-op City is still a pet-free community. Service animals or emotional support animals should be registered with the Riverbay Corporation and issued ID tag. If you saw a dog in your building with no tag, what would you do, if anything? Lynette? I see your hand. Is that your hand still up from before? Okay.
So for me, the issue, what you're speaking of, is that Riverbay can offer the ID tags, but it is not a requirement that someone has to wear it or that the dog has to wear it. And I assume that that's what we're speaking about specifically. So it is a suggestion that's there, but people are allowed to have them. And I'm not sure if the issue exactly is with the dog itself or with the behavior that happens that many cooperators talk about, such as not picking up after the dog or occasionally having the dog off the leash. Both of these are issues that we do have, and we all need to live together. Again, Co-op City Times, the week before, someone had mentioned that we're here all together, and that includes the dogs. I think that they should have to be registered, but I also think that we need to find a way to have cooperators be able to participate in that. These are New York City and New York State public health laws when it comes to the feces that's on the ground. That's where CCPD comes in. That's enforcement of those laws and being able to have cooperators tell them when those laws are being disobeyed. In order to have that more strongly enforced, though, we need to be able to get more officers on board. And currently, we're not staffed at the capacity to be able to do that. Once we are, we can be able to enforce that much stronger and be able to have CCPD out of the cars and be able to enforce the laws here to continue the quality of life.
Okay, thank you. Monique Coleman.
So everybody probably knows, but maybe for those who don't, we were once a pet-free community, but some years back, we, had to settle a lawsuit based on the Americans with Disabilities Act. So at this point, we're not able to stop people from having pets. And as Lynn said, we're also not allowed really to demand that people show us evidence of licensure or proof that they are allowed to have a pet. So as a community and as neighbors, we have to be respectful of one another. And, you know, and that's really the bottom line. We have to live together and we have to work together. Dogs can't be off their leash, and, you know, owners do have to curb their animals and clean up after their animals because those are laws. And, you know, we should be able to address our neighbors when something is, you know, outside the lines, and you know, an animal is or an owner is not taking care of their animals. In my building, you know, we have lots of dogs and they're all really pleasant. We don't have the issue with you know, aggressive or tremendous animals, but I've heard stories around the community that exists. So we just have to be good neighbors. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. Thank you.
Thank you. This is now a contentious question, but I also second what my teammate Monique said, that it's going to be difficult trying to mandate registration and having dogs or their dog owners wear a vest or something that says that they are registered. That's going to be very difficult. Instead, we just have to make sure that we are in compliance with New York City law. There's a law coming down soon from Eric Adams's office that they're going to charge a $250 fine for not curbing your dog. And we have to make sure that our shareholders understand that, and that CCPD will be adamant on enforcing that. So just be considerate. Dog owners, be considerate. Non-dog owners, be considerate, but be vigilant as well. So we have to work together. We're Co-op City. The spirit of Co-op City is working together and making sure that we are considerate and vigilant with one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Pearson.
Hi. Okay, a lot of good information was given already. First of all, we are regulated by both local, state, and federal regulations, all different and intertwined. We cannot discriminate on the size of a dog or the breed of the dog, and in some cases, you can't even discriminate on the number of dogs. If there's a balance issue, a person can actually have 2 German Shepherds to keep them upright. These are, I think, outrageous rules, but they are. Once I started to co-chair the Disability and Accommodations Committee, I stopped giving dogs dirty looks. And I'm so happy I can now stop giving dogs dirty looks, because some of these people really, really need the comfort of a comfort animal, of a service animal, of an assistant animal. They have names up the kazoo for what these assistant animals are. Service, nobody blinks an eye at, because obviously most of them are seeing eye dogs. But we sign up at Costco saying we do not honor comfort animals, but they have a big pocketbook to fight. We don't have that kind of fight. We were sued, we lost, we had $250,000 in escrow, so we shouldn't do it again, bother people with dogs. But still, if you have a dog, they must follow the rules. The owners must follow the rules. They have to be on the leash. You got to curb them. Not excessive sound, but most important, not threatening. And, you know, if people think, oh, I'm going to sue Co-op City if a dog bites me, it's the owner's problem, not Co-op City's. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Rod Saunders.
Yes, thank you for the question. You know, back in 2015, this was a very hot item, and the board came together and we had a dog committee. They came together with that committee and they got a series of, they got a pamphlet for what you could and couldn't do, what was legal, what wasn't legal. So what I recommend is to take this conversation to its correct ending, I believe, is to simply say that what we need to do is on our website, put down the documentation for what is, what isn't legal, that all the shareholders can see it at the same time, and then we can erase some of these questions that keep resurfacing. Have it in writing for once and for all, know what can happen and know what can't. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod. Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you for the question. I concur with Rod. That was a very good idea. But I'd like to bring in one of our platforms. A lot of this is community policing. When I first moved in here, you used to get community complaints. You used to get community complaints if you walked on the grass. You got community complaints if you rode your bicycle in the shopping center. I'm talking a lot about community policing because I think a lot of the issues that I hear the shareholders speaking to the Stronger Together team can be addressed by community policing. We all love dogs, some don't, but we all understand that people have therapeutic reasons or physical reasons. So I really don't think it's the pets issue anymore. The issue here is, as a shareholder, we're all in this together and we all have to follow certain rules. So maybe community policing could help us, because like the gentleman said, there might be a law coming down the pipe. If they see the cooperator not cleaning up after their dog, we might have to take a look at community complaints. It's not to beat up on shareholders. That goes back to another thing I'd like to do. Bring back the biannual new shareholder orientation to Dreiser, to bring them into the family, to let them understand that they're not renters, that they're shareholders, that that property belongs to them, that they're cleaning after. But again, I think some of this is going to go back to community policing. And if you bring my team to the board, we're definitely going to take a look at community policing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now Michelle Marbury.
Yes, hi. Yeah, I'm remembering what my colleague and teammate Monique said about about our fair share. We Co-op City spends $4 million a year cleaning up our own garbage, and we've done this for years. And that money should come back in the form of a compliment to CCPD, which we need more of. While we enjoy the lowest crime rates in the city of New York, we need more policing, and it should come from the city who's taking from us and benefiting from us, taking up things that they should already be doing for us. Back to the dogs. A quick story. When I was 11 and moved in here, my mom had to get rid of a German Shepherd puppy that we never saw because we were moving to Co-op City. And the rules were, it's a pet-free community, and we adhered to that, and we did that for so long. And there's so many people, so many shareholders like me who complied with the rules, and then all of a sudden we lose a case and we all have to be put upon with the dogs. I love dogs, don't get me wrong, but you have to follow the rules, and we cannot infringe on other people's freedoms. There's much more to say. I'll come back to it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's see what time it is. I'm trying to get 2 more questions in here. Okay, cooperators have complained about people hanging out around the community, drinking and smoking. What would you do if you saw this happening?
What was the last part of that question, please?
What would you do if you saw this happening? I mean, not only drinking and smoking, being loud and boisterous. So if you saw that, I know like behind some of the buildings, there were a lot of kids sitting on benches and talking and drinking and smoking. And so what would you do in cases like that? Ezekiel?
Yes, thank you for the question. Of course, let CCPD know. That kind of goes without saying. But we have to work with CCPD. We have to make sure CCPD knows the hot spots here in Co-op City. if you let CCPD know the hot spots in Co-op City where too many people are hanging out, too many people are up to no good, somebody's kids are hanging out in the laundry room or in the stairwells or behind the supermarket, let CCPD know. My nephew, who's a CCPD officer, he says, we want to know the hotspots. Let us know the hotspots, and we will concentrate on those hotspots. So eyes open, ears open, see something, say something. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lynette?
So of course, we do need our CCPD to be able to be attentive and to have our shareholders be able to speak to them and keep communication so that they can identify where exactly are those locations where they are, consistency and everything. However, because we currently are not fully staffed at our full capacity, that makes it extremely difficult, and it puts a continuous strain on our CCPD officers to address that. One thing that can be done is having a similar effort also with the 45th precinct, and having CCPD as well as the 45th precinct work together to be able to address those issues. Sometimes there are issues that are on the ground, sometimes there are issues on the streets, but either way, it's something that CCPD can make a determination if they are staffed enough to be able to manage that. And if not, they can also consider delegating that to the 45th, both again of which we pay for and should be utilizing in order to be able to keep a quality of life that's here.
Okay, thank you. Blossom John? You're muted.
If I was a board member, because people are familiar with me in the area where I live, I first would try the approach to walk over and say, hey guys, ladies, whoever, listen, we got to keep it down. Or I would approach it that way first because they're familiar, and just remind them, we're a community. It's half and half here. You could do your thing, and then it depends on the situation. And if you don't get the results from that, call CCPD and and tell them exactly what's going on and where it's at, and have them take care of it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Michelle Marbury?
Okay. Drinking and smoking. We had a vigil, Building 21 Association. We did a vigil. We had Andy King come with us, and some clergy, and a bunch of interested shareholders came out, and because we had a really big problem with that some years ago. And not only did we continue, we did round robin calls, where we continuously called CCPD and made sure that this was viewed as a hot spot, as Ezekiel so brilliantly said. And that's what it takes. You've got to be, you've got to be looking, you got to be watching. And speaking of community policing, we've been doing community policing since 2021. So that's already on record and on the book. But what's got to happen is our shareholders and our residents have got to comply. We've all got to step up our game and take hold of our community. It's not only the directors, the board directors. We're going to represent you, but we all have to meet each other halfway, and that way we can confront these problems and dissipate some of them. Thanks.
Thank you. Jacqueline Smith?
Yes, thank you for the question. Community policing, I'm not quite sure what approach they're using. Like I said, I'm familiar with community policing. And to tell the honest to God truth, when I grew up in Section 5, we were outside late at night. We were making noise. We were 16 years old. We were sitting on benches and we were doing things. And you know what happened, everybody? CCB walked over and said, you have to leave. And guess what happened? We left. Now, I'm not saying the young people are the same, but that's basically the answer. But like my candidate said, Ms. Wright, currently we're not at full capacity. So what else can we do? We need to make sure that we're involved and we know who our NCOs are from the 40th precinct, our neighborhood offices. I believe that a Riverbay board member should be required to go to the 45th Precinct Council meeting every month. I don't know how they give out of assignments, but I believe assignments should be given out where the information needs to be given. But at the end of the day, hopefully, if the Stronger Together team is privileged enough to be sent to the board, maybe we could take a look at a few of these things. Also budget, because we need the officers. And basically that's it. And then the last thing, we're back to the bingo hall. You know, one of the reasons why all my friends and I sat outside in Section 5 growing up is because we didn't have anywhere to go. We didn't have anything to do. We sat on the bench and we played music because we didn't have anywhere else to go. Maybe we could come up with somewhere for our young people to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Pearson.
Okay, well, now Section 5, I've been trying for years to try to get a Section 5 waterside walkway. We have the pathway, we can walk on it, we can ride our bikes on it. However, there are no benches by the waterside. It's also, except in winter, you can't see the water. There is no waterside. It's just a wall of green weeds. So I put a resolution in last year. It was passed unanimously, 15-0, to have this waterside budget-worthy waterside walkway put into effect. Just the other day, we were supposed to just vote on the wording. Instead of saying by any means necessary, taking away the brush, it was going to be by goats. I've been in touch with the goat guy from Rhinebeck, and they were going to bring goats. It would be a wonderful entertainment for the children. The goats will eat away the stuff. This is just step one. Eventually, we'd put benches in between. And people would say, oh, we don't want the kids hanging out. And I said, what do you prefer? The kids hanging out by the water, they are going to hang out somewhere. Or do you want them hanging out under the portico where the smoke comes up through your windows and the noise comes up through the windows? It could be whatever it is. Anyway, it's going to happen if I'm on the board or not. The process is in the works. We need this in our community. We need it in Section 5. We are considered the ugly stepchild and we're sick of it. And we are going to get that. I don't know how much time I have left, but we addressed the noise by taking away the benches. I do not believe outside the back of the building in 27. I don't believe in taking away the amenities of the whole community for the bad actors that are abusing it. CCPD has to show up.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Okay, Ross Saunders.
Yes, thank you for the question. You know, having raised two young men who grew up in Co-op City, I'll tell you that hanging out, being on the benches, it's sort of like a rite of passage from your teenage years to your younger years. I also know that CCPD has no problem when called, generally addressing the issue. And I prefer that CCPD address the issue rather than the 4-5 precinct address the issue, because our guys will de-escalate the problem. 4-5 precinct, sometimes they're just there to show strength and show you, get away, get off the bench, do what you're doing. Our guys will engage properly. I don't think it's that big an issue. It's more of a rite of passage with some of these people. Having said that, I will tell you this. Once my youngsters got past that particular era and got into the work stage, they didn't hang out like that anymore. What Co-op City needs to do is to provide more jobs for our young people. When they worked hard all day, they don't have time to sit out on the bench and smoke and drink. They're too tired for that. They've got money in their pockets. They can do things that are much more attractive. And we need to start hiring more of our own kids from this community rather than so many people from outside. That's the way, in my mind, that you begin to reduce some of that. Engagement, jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, Monique Coleman.
Thank you. I think it's complicated because I feel like I said that I feel like it's complicated because our community, we have a lot of open space and we do have a lot of benches, and smoking is not against the law. Smoking cigarettes and even now cannabis is not against the law. I think, from my perspective as an individual and not necessarily as a board member, because I can't help but to be a human, is that, you know, I've raised two sons in this community, just like Rod. And, you know, although my boys did not hang out, you know, on the benches a lot, I feel like having raised two boys, I don't feel intimidated by walking past groups of people who are minding their business and just enjoying the weather. And so it doesn't bother me as much to walk past a group of people who are socializing. And I will often stop and say hello and how are you? And, you know, and if somebody is, you know, out of line, you know, I don't have a problem with being neighborly and telling them so. Because we're all, you know, we're neighbors, and this is all of our community, and we all have to share it. So I don't necessarily think that people socializing, you know, in our open spaces during, you know, reasonable hours, minding their business is a criminal act that needs to be intervened by, you know, CCPD or the 45th precinct. But of course, if it's after hours, then we need intervention. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you
Excuse me, a
so
lot of people
much.
are not muted.
Okay, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself and you can lower your hand if you have spoken already. Okay, I think this will be the last question. Let's see. If you had to prioritize, what do you think is the greatest challenge we are facing in Co-op City, and how would you advocate addressing the issue? Okay, Blossom John.
For me, I think
You're muted.
the biggest priority for us is the mandate coming up, reverting our natural gas to clean energy, whether it's wind or solar. We've heard in the last town hall meeting that it may not be possible for us to even convert, and that's going to be a big problem. I feel that we need to start now. 2030 is right around the corner. City council already passed the law that they cannot, new buildings under 10 floors cannot even have gas. It has to be natural, either solar power or wind. I think the best combination for us would be some buildings reverting over to solar if we can, or by wind and natural gas, because we could just not afford to flip this place over to electricity by wind. I don't know how that's possible, but that's something that we need to dig into, because we would be paying a light bill like our rent, and that's just my major concern. And I think that's, everybody should be looking at that. I don't want to wait till, we need to be proactive. I don't want to wait until it hits us before we now figure what are we going to do? Let's get some engineers on that and tell us the best course of action to keep this place affordable. Thank you.
Okay, Rod Saunders.
Yes, thank you for the question. It would take me much longer than 1 minute to properly answer that question. And just to
You have 90
come behind,
seconds.
thank you. And to come behind Blossom Johns, she is absolutely right. You know, there are going to be two mandates that are absolutely going to be devastating to Co-op City. The one is that we turn our buildings to all electric, which means that not only do we have to do the electrical infrastructure work, it would mean that we would have to literally swap out 15,372 gas stoves for electric ranges. That cost, even at something nominal like $700 a piece, would equal more than almost $11 million. And that's $11 million today's money. It's not what happens as we go forward with inflation. The second thing is that they want to restrict or eliminate all power plants that run from fossil fuels. Our our power plant runs off of natural gas. If they take that away from us, that means that we will be totally dependent on Con Ed. Con Ed is constantly getting raises from the Public Service Commission to raise their rates for the same thing that we'd have to do infrastructure, except that the only rates that we can raise is on our shareholders. That's not a winning situation. So we need to be very cognizant of what we're doing and not waste political capital so much on expenditures that we think that we like because it's recreational, but because of things that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod. Monique Coleman.
Thank you, Ms. Riva. I feel like affordability is our biggest threat, and affordability covers a wide umbrella of items, including the conversions that have been discussed, from oil to natural gas or wind or solar or some other energy alternative. But I feel like we've got some leaky faucets in terms of expenses, and that if we are not careful, our costs will exceed our revenues and it will become unaffordable. And when it becomes unaffordable, I believe that our autonomy and independence will be threatened. So I'm afraid of just us wasting money on things like insurance. I'm afraid, about the convector problem. We are waiting on the results of the feasibility study. We don't really know what the answer is. Is it cleaning out the convectors now to avoid the micro the debris from going down the pipe? Is it painting the convectors with a anti-corrosive substance to keep the stuff from going down the pipes? I'm not really sure. I just feel like our costs could easily get out of control, making our community unaffordable.
Thank you, Monique. Lynette, you have your hand up, right? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So I think one of the biggest issues that we have here is transparency overall, specifically board transparency. And when I think about that, that resolves a lot of the issues that we talked about on the call, because everybody that is here or plans to be on the board at some point is responsible for the budget. What the budget does is tells you where there are priorities and where priorities need to be placed. It can tell you things such as we're spending money on essential projects, or are we spending money on non-essential projects that increase the amount of affordability that we have here and actually put it at risk. So I think that able to address that issue of seeing board transparency, which includes being able to have open board meetings again. And also, I'm a very big advocate for when we have bills and laws that come up, seeing who voted for what. Whether you could choose to validate or not is one thing, but that will show you where there is priority. And when you're able to put people in place who you trust, who you think are in your interest, it can take care of a lot of these other things that were mentioned on this call.
Okay, Michelle Marbury.
Thank you. The spirit of Co-op City. You talk about needing new blood. We are new blood. Monique and I are two board members who came on to the board from other tenures and are seeking full tenures, 3-year terms with regard to our term limits. And so no one on the spirit of Co-op City team is a long-standing director. And so putting us in the boardroom will rectify that and keep new blood flowing. As with regard to prioritizing and our greatest challenge, I do feel that the separative isms that go on and the two-sidedness, that's got to stop. And I fight for that all the time. Whenever we have a board meeting, I always try to ride the fence and I am for board development. And, and some directors are not. But I feel that, you're going to run a $250 million corporation. You better know how to do it. You better know how to exercise critical thinking. And those are just some of the things that we attack when we're in board development. And a board development costs each shareholder maybe 60 cents. I think it's under that. And, so for less than $1, you make sure that the people that you put into those seats know what they're doing and they're cohesive and they're together and going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ezekiel Springer.
Thank you for the question. Yes, one of the biggest things coming down the pipe is the insurance premiums that Co-op City has to pay. We just had an increase of over $4 million, and that's just not going to be sustainable in the near future. Not just the future down the road. In the near future, that's not sustainable, and that's going to increase still. Also, another high priority is convectors. Convectors, as we all know, huge problem here. I understand there is an engineering study in progress, and folks have requested a cost analysis. Preliminary cost analysis, from what I understand, $400 million to overhaul our convectors. And that's going to come back around to us. So we need to send a proposal, possibly to the government, for grant money to get that possible $400 million. I'm not sure if that's exact, but we have to find a government agency open to helping us. And we got to find creative ways to get that money, and voting for us, the Spirit of Co-op City team, we will be on the board and find those ways to find money for us to fix these convectors once and for all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think we're close to 5 o'clock, so I think we better start wrapping up. So we have closing remarks, and I'm going to take the liberty of giving you 90 seconds because I know a lot of you cannot do it in 1 minute. Okay, so I'm just going to take random people. Blossom Johns, you go first.
Thank you. I had prepared something to speak, but after listening to Mary Pearson, it was disheartening to hear that. I'm going to tell you about me. I'm not a tiger and I don't bite. I'm a part of the community, and that's who I'm for, us together. I've worked with the board members in the past. I've worked on the committees. I worked for New York. I've worked for senators. I've worked for city. That's not my style. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to listen. And if you can convince me, and even if you don't see my point, we're in this together. So if your premiums go up, my premiums go up. But we want to avoid that, and we want to keep this affordable. So whatever we have to do as a team, stronger together, will definitely make that happen. Thank you.
Okay. Ezekiel Springer.
Thank you. I want to thank the candidates. I want to thank Ms. Reva Jones. I want to thank Jeff Buss. And I want to thank the shareholders for giving us your time. I'm a paper tiger, but I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for you. I'm not going to physically fight anybody. That's stupid. But I'm going to fight for you with words, with action, because my concerns are your concerns. Safety, affordability, quality of life. This is why I'm running with the Coalition to Save Affordable Housing. It's the only way. It's the only way. We are the Spirit of Co-op City. So this May, please vote for the Spirit of Co-op City. re-elect board directors Michelle Marbury and Monique Coleman, and elect political strategist Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, coalition member Ivy Gaynor, and me, Ezekiel Springer Jr., Building 32 Association Secretary. Why? Because, simply put, we are the spirit of Co-op City. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you. I want to thank the election committee for hosting the forum, and I want to thank the shareholders for tuning in. Like I said, I'm running with the Stronger Together team because when we first spoke to one another, we realized we all had the vision for each other. But let me say this. One thing the four of us said to each other is that if God, who I want to thank because that's where the source of all my strength comes from, are honored and privileged to be brought onto the board, we're going to listen to each issue, whatever resolution, and each one of us have our own personal integrity. And we have the right to vote the way we are. So when someone tells me that particular people can't get along or get a resolution that can help this committee come out of committee, says to me that we're talking about other issues here. I'm grateful to be running with a team that is emotionally mature enough to debate an issue, come with the research and the homework that they did, and then vote with their own personal integrity. Shareholders, that's all you can ask of a board member, is to have enough humility and faith in a God of their understanding to listen to the issues, listen to the information given, and vote. And then we're all in it together, stronger together, together strong, we all belong. And I really believe that I'm running with candidates, yes, I see the 10 seconds, that understands that concept. And that's why I was so proud to put my name on a piece of paper with them. With that being said, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share today. Have a beautiful Saturday.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Michelle Marbury.
Thank you, Director Jones. Thank you, Election Committee. Thank you, fellow runners and campaigners. God bless us all. Good luck to us all. Let's talk about our mortgage refinance. $120 million has come into this community, and that's because we worked together. We did work together as a board to make it happen. And I am proud that my name is all over that refinance. In my 20s, I would have never thought that someone would entrust me to sign my name to those documents. So $120 million in cash to finance our capital projects, because we are currently using our operating budget to finance capital projects. And if we did not have the refinance, we would be facing, you and me would be facing double-digit increases. So bravo to us for getting that refinance done and approved. And and another thing new to the board, Miss Monique Coleman, her experience in insurance and proposal ideas already has saved us almost $1 million, $800,000 to be exact. So I'm so happy to be a part of that. Our mission when we are in the boardroom is to be forward thinking and find creative ways to do things. And the Coalition to Save Affordable Housing has done that. We've gotten $500,000 for the waterfront park and going after $2 million more. So vote for the team, Spirit of Co-op City. We are the spirit of this community.
Thank you, Michelle. Lynette, right?
I just want to say thank you to the shareholders for tuning in and recognizing how important this is and that everybody can make a change, particularly when you're looking into your leadership. Also, thank you to the election committee for holding these forums and to every passionate candidate that we have that spoke today. For the shareholders, I'm asking you to be able to vote for, if you are ready for a change, and for a team that understands the community because they are the community, and a board that understands that they're not above the shareholders, but first and foremost, that we are putting shareholders forward first because we are shareholders. We understand that when I started running for this team, the one compromise that I said is that I am always going to vote with integrity. And because I am on a team, that does not mean that I am voting in a group. I vote with my heart. And that was the condition in which I stated I was going to, and I still plan that. My team has different thoughts and different feelings about different things, but we use that as a strength to be able to come up with very creative and very inclusive solutions. So I'm asking for you, particularly with my team, that to see that we have the foundation and pride of the past, but we also have a goal and mission for what we think the community can look like, and with your assistance, what this can look like moving forward and in the future. So please, I'm asking for your vote. Please vote for Lynette Wright, Blossom Johns, Jacqueline Smith, and to re-elect Rod Saunders to the Riverbay Board of Directors. We are stronger together. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Rod Saunders.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for their participation and the shareholders for their questions. I'd like to thank the committee for the work that they're doing in this election cycle. I would like to remind everyone to please look at this week's Co-op City Times and look at the platform that we're running and supporting. Also, I would like to talk for a moment about a subject that came up, which is the fact that we are now engaging our elected officials. I would like to remind everybody that in 2015, when I was first elected, that I was elected and selected to take the legislative committee because of the work that I've done with legislators in the past. Our elected representative, I knew all of them, and I still know all of them. We held the first legislative brunch ever in 2016, asking our elected officials to work with us. In 2018, I held the first legislative roundtable where we had very good participation, again, from all of our elected representatives. And today, my legislative committee has upped the game. Every time we have a meeting, we have an agenda with our elected representatives where we ask them for the needs of Co-op City and Co-op City residents. I'm asking you to please vote to elect Blossom Johns, Lynette Wright, and Jacqueline Smith, and re-elect Rod Saunders so that we can continue in making sure that we have the partnership with our elected representatives to help us out for so many things that we will need them for in the future. Voting begins on May 2nd and ends on May 20th. Please vote for the Stronger Together team. Together, we are stronger. Thank you so much. Please have a pleasant rest of your weekend.
Thank you. And Monique Coleman?
Thank you, Director Jones. So, as I've said before, I have only been a full board member for 6 months. And many sane people would go running in the opposite direction after this period of time. We have so many priorities, honestly, you can't even imagine for my fellow candidates. There's so much work to be done. There's so much to learn. There's so much to wrap your head around. And many sane people would go running in the other direction, as I said, but I am really optimistic about, our future as a community. I'm optimistic about the board. I'm optimistic about this election. I feel like, there's a lot of work to be done, but the spirit of Co-op City is up for the challenge. I'm asking you to please cast your vote for the spirit of Co-op City, which includes me, Monique Coleman, re-elect Michelle Marbury, elect Ezekiel Springer, Ivy Gaynor, and Aisha Ahmed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Monique. And Mary Pearson?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. We have a lot of problems facing us. There is the mandated elimination of natural gas, and it will have to be just fuel. not only would that make our power plant obsolete, it would make everything that the power plant provides obsolete. Our stoves, our convector systems, all just forget about it. We have to all move out. But I've got a plan for that. And you can go to website. I'll list it on the next week in the statement. I came up with I come up with plans. That's what I do, and then I bring them. I write about them. I engage. I ask people to join in. When I find them one-on-one and can able to convince them, everybody says, "Oh, that's a really good idea. We should do that." But it's not somebody else's plan, and then there's locking horns, and that's a problem. Okay. That's the one mandate. The convectors, for other reasons, it's a huge problem for many cooperators, and it's no problem at all for other cooperators. I haven't had a leak in 27 years. We had a leak the first season when we didn't clean it out properly. After we did, there was no problem. Some people just don't clean them out. Now the seniors have assistants to clean them. And the workforce was so backed up in the past couple of years, they couldn't get around to every cooperator, every aged cooperator to help them accomplish that. The condensation causes leaks, huge problem. Okay, the Metro North platform, we need a south of the tracks entrance, or Co-op City Section 5 will be immobilized between that and the other things that the DOT is about to inflict on us. Thank you for everyone who voted for me in the past and for all you're going to tell to vote for me in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, and thank all of the candidates. You did a fantastic job, and I wish all of you luck in getting a seat on the board of directors. And thank you, community, for tuning in, and we will be rebroadcasting this and the first forum during the following week. And soon you will be getting your ballots in the next couple of days. And please, 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 please vote and ask your neighbors to vote. And with that, I'll turn the floor over to Jeff Buss, our attorney, if he has any last remarks.
Thank you very much, Francine. Once again, a very thoughtful group, and I'm impressed by the passion and the intelligence. As Francine stated, Monday, we begin the election. With this group of candidates, the only wrong vote that you could make is not to vote. You have an amazing, amazing talent here. And one of the things that I believe painfully learned over the years is that if Co-op City doesn't do it, nobody's going to do it for you. You have to stick up for yourself, and you have to fight for everything that seems right and just. And with this group of candidates, I think you've got a tremendous pool of talent, and I urge everybody to vote, please. Thank you very much. And I'm going outside. It's a beautiful spring day. I'm also impressed that, it's 65 and sunny, and everybody's here doing this. So just to show you the passion and love they have for the community. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, and good night all. I hope to see
Good
you.
night, everybody. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, yeah.
Last forum Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. right here.
Okay.